Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into the work of James Nestor and uncover a really shocking truth about the most basic, most fundamental function of life, breathing. And here's the kicker. It turns out, pretty much all of us have been doing it completely wrong. Okay, so our story kicks off with the author himself, James Nestor. Now, his doctor suggests he try a simple breathing class. And honestly, he was pretty skeptical. I mean, who wouldn't be? But he was also stressed out and, desperate for pretty much anything that might actually help. So there he is, sitting on the floor in a totally cool room for about an hour, and he's doing literally nothing but following instructions to, inhale and exhale. That's it. But when he opens his eyes, he's completely drenched. I'm talking his hair, his sweater, his jeans, everything just soaked in sweat. And the weird thing is, he felt totally fine. He wasn't sick or anything. So what on earth happened? How can just breathing do that? Well, that one single, bizarre, unexplainable event is what kicked off this whole multi-year investigation, a deep dive into a lost art and science that, it seems, modern medicine has almost completely forgotten. And what Nestor found on this journey, well, it led him to a really startling revelation. It turns out that we as a species have somehow become the absolute worst breathers in the entire animal kingdom. And get this, the scale of the problem is just staggering. Researchers he talked to found that an estimated 90%, that's 90, of us are breathing incorrectly. And let's be clear, this isn't some minor little issue. No, this is a major, major contributing factor to a whole host of chronic illnesses. I mean, just think about it for a second. So many of the modern problems we all deal with, things like constant anxiety, ADHD, all the way to chronic sleep problems like snoring and sleep apnea, a lot of it is either caused or made way, way worse by one simple fact. We've forgotten how to breathe properly. And this brings us to such a crucial point. You can eat all the right foods, you can exercise every single day, heck, you can have the best genes in the world, but none of it fully matters if you're not breathing correctly. It's the missing pillar of health, the very foundation that we've all been totally ignoring. So the big question is, how did we get it so incredibly wrong? Well, to figure that out, we've actually got to look way back to our ancestors, who, as it turns out, were pretty much perfect breathers. When you compare ancient human skulls to modern ones, you see this dramatic and, frankly, kind of unflattering transformation. Our ancestors? They had these wide, forward-facing jaws. Their teeth were perfectly straight. And all of that created these huge, open, clear airways. Now look at us. Modern skulls are smaller, our jaws are recessed, our teeth are all crowded and crooked. And what does that lead to? You guessed it, shrunken, obstructed airways. Right, so this is an evolution in the way we usually think about it. Survival of the fittest and all that. It's this concept called disevolution. See, once we shifted to soft processed foods, we just stopped chewing as much. And over generations, that simple change caused our mouths and our jaws to actually shrink. It physically reshaped our skulls for the worse, literally choking off our own airways. Crazy, right? Okay, so to really test just how damaging these modern breathing habits are, Nestor and a breathing therapist decided to do something pretty radical. They volunteered for this intense 20-day experiment at Stanford University. What they wanted to find out was simple, really. In a controlled, scientific way, what actually happens to the human body when you force it to abandon its primary, most important breathing pathway, the nose, and rely only on the mouth. The experiment itself was pretty straightforward, but man, was it grueling. Here's how it worked. For 10 full days, they completely blocked their noses with silicone plugs and tape. This forced them to breathe only through their mouths. Then, for the next 10 days, they took the plugs out and focused on breathing only through their noses, doing some specific techniques to fix the damage. And all the while, their vitals were being tracked constantly. So what happened? Well, the bad stuff, the negative effects of all that mouth breathing, they weren't subtle. They weren't gradual. No, they were immediate. They were severe, and they were absolutely shocking. Okay, check out this number. After just one night, I'm not kidding, one single night of forced mouth breathing, Nestor's snoring went up by a staggering 1,300%. That's 1,300%. He went from snoring for maybe a few minutes a night to over an hour of snoring in one night. And it gets worse. His blood pressure, it spiked by an average of 13 points. Now, that was enough to push him into a state of stage 1 hypertension. His body was under constant, measurable stress. His heart rate variability, which is a key sign of a balanced nervous system, just plummeted. But, beyond all the scary data points, they just felt awful. I mean, truly terrible. Nestor described the whole experience of constant mouth breathing as this physically and mentally debilitating grind, like a state of just perpetual, unending misery, where their minds were foggy and their bodies were just totally stressed out. And this really brings us to the most important question of all, right? If all of that damage can happen in just 10 days, what in the world is happening to us over an entire lifetime of improper breathing? It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? I mean, how are you breathing right now at this very moment?